Deion Sanders, hired at the University of Colorado. There's been a lot of back and forths going on with people's personal opinion in regards to what he did, leaving Jackson State, going to Colorado. I know you heard a little bit about the story. What are your thoughts on hearing Deion signing with Colorado and leaving Jackson State?
It's an upgrade. You know, like he talked about in his, I think in his interview, you know, when you're in this profession, you either get
elevated or terminated.
No doubt about it. And if that was his, you know, his goal and his, you know, his aspirations to get a Power 5 job and not be, you know, at the HBCU and a great job came available, at the end of the day, look at it this way. Prime did everything that he said that he was going to do for Jackson State and the HBCU, which was what? Mm-hmm. Bring awareness, give the ability for these kids to experience what these Power 5, you know, athletic programs are experienced, change their whole athletic department. These kids was traveling on American Airlines instead of busing, to and from games. Under Armour would sponsor them. Brought a great deal of awareness, not only to Jackson State, but to
HBCU. Don't forget, he was making $300,000. He gave half of that back, if I'm not mistaken, to JSU as well.
Yeah, then college game day on a HBCU campus. What?
Yeah.
That ain't happening. So what he was able to do in such a short amount of time is remarkable, because so many guys have came there and had those same goals and aspirations to bring awareness to HBCU, have guys get drafted, force the league or whoever that he did to make a comeback for these kids, so these kids can be seen, because it's just as much talent at an HBCU campus than it is at a Power 5. Mm-hmm. And a job came available that he wanted to move on to. Why would people hate him for doing that?
I think a lot of people feel some type of way based on what he was saying when he first got there, sparking change. And like you said, the things that he was able to do in 3 years was significant. But I guess people felt like more change could have been accomplished if you stick it out. Then some people feel like he should have stuck it out for at least one full recruiting cycle, meaning go through 4 years with a class that you brought in. Mm. My only concern with this is when you talk about the things that Deion was able to do at Jackson State, well documented, game changing, not just for the football program, but for the entire HBCU, nation in regards to all their schools. And you talk about getting prominent high school prospects to say no to Power 5 schools to come to an HBCU school is something that we haven't seen. You know what I mean? But throughout that recruiting process, when he was recruiting some of these transfers, when he was recruiting some of these high school prospects and their parents or their guardians or whoever it was that was helping them make that decision, did he make it clear that if an opportunity was to surface, he probably would entertain that opportunity?
I'm sure. Knowing Deion, I'm sure he did.
Because I can tell you from a personal experience, one of the main reasons why I didn't go to Miami. Butch Davis was the head coach at Miami at that time. He came into my house for a home visit. And at that time, he started to really re-energize the program down in Coral Gables. And I asked Coach Davis, I said, Coach, if I sign with Miami, will you be there with me while I'm there as a student athlete for the Hurricanes? He said, yes. I ain't believe him, though. Mm-hmm. I felt like, man, this man get an opportunity to go to the NFL. He's going to jump ship. He's going to go. Right. So, of course, I ended up going to Florida State because I knew Bobby wasn't going nowhere. He turned down opportunities to leave Florida State. He was going to be there throughout it all. And, coaching change can be dramatic depending on who leaves and who comes in. So that is my only concern, something that I don't know personally. When you're talking to some of these kids that passed on Power 5 schools, when you're talking to some of these kids that were transferring from Power 5 schools to come to Jackson State, when you're talking to some of these prospects that came to your program fresh out of high school, was it? And I'm pretty sure these questions probably were asked, you know what I mean, from either the player or the parents. Did you say, nah, I'm going to be here with you? Or did you say, you know what? I'll keep it real with you. I will entertain it if it makes sense. If it makes sense, I will entertain those said opportunities.
And like I said, knowing Prime, if that question was asked, I'm almost positive, 1,000% sure he kept it real and left it on the table.
Yeah. I mean, now you got to look at, I guess, what happens now to a lot of the kids that only went to Jackson State mostly because of Prime. No. You know what I mean? What happens to that group of kids that, I could have went X, Y, and Z, but I came here because you were here. Now, will they follow him or will they stick it out at Jackson State? Will they go elsewhere? We have to wait and see. But that's my only concern in regards to Prime leaving. Was it known? Was he transparent in some of the recruiting dialogue going back and forth with so many players that he was able to get to Jackson State? Like, I'm not going to lie. If I get an opportunity to go to a major school, I'm probably going to jump ship. Then also, too, you got to look at like this, Pat P. That was one of the bigger things he was emphasizing. You don't have to go to a private Power 5 school to be able to accomplish opportunities to get to the National Football League.
Right.
Like if you're telling a kid to not go to a Power 5 school and they don't have to go, then you go to a Power 5. Some people are looking at that a little sideways as well. So
yeah. But at the same time, if you look at his whole message, right? His whole message is to provoke change, right? And how are you going to provoke change? By providing a coaching staff, providing a coaching tree like most of these other good head coaches do, and start getting these guys job opportunities at these Power 5, getting these guys in bigger positions, because I think that's what the end goal is, just not to be, in control of no HBCU. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But guess where all the big money is made at? Well, guess where you get more notoriety at? On a Power 5 scale. And I think by him taking this job I think he's taking this to now try to build his own coaching tree in the Power 5 to get more of us in the coaching, the coaching pot. Because that's all it is. Coaching is just a big ass pot to where if you coached before and somebody knew you and he got a coaching job, or they just gonna go to that pot. So now Deion is trying to create a pot for his own. Which, why could you be upset at that if he's trying to still put guys in position to be in powerful positions?
Yeah. I mean, and I agree with you. I think there's always going to be the question of, you basically did what you were telling some of the prospects to not do. You know what I mean? Like, don't go here, come here, because everything that you can accomplish there, we can do here, but then you leave. Now, granted, as you mentioned, it's a bigger pot to be stirred when it comes to opportunities and helping other people out, which he will do. But that, I think, is one of the bigger questions in regards to people who feel some type of way with him leaving Jackson State. Is like, well, dang, your whole recruiting pitch was, don't go to the Miamis of the world or the LSUs of the world. Come here. We can do the same thing with minimal resources.
At that time, what he was doing, why he was selling that pitch, was to bring the awareness to the HBCUs. And that was the only way that he was going to do it, to get the kids from a Power 5. And I'm sure, like I said, as blunt and straightforward as Deion is, I'm almost positive he told his team, just like when he broke the news. It wasn't like, they ain't see it breaking news somewhere. He came and told his players before it even broke. And I'm sure he even told his guys, lead into the whole process. Hey, I'm sure he told Jackson State, hey, because they had to give him permission to talk to other people. So it's not like it caught them off surprise. I'm sure they knew going into this, if Deion gets a bigger opportunity, we know he's going to take it. Or you think Jackson State is like, man, we so appreciative of what he was able to do in this short amount of time. They got nothing bad to say about Deion. It's not like he just up and left them. I'm sure he told them people, if a bigger job, I'm coming here to put y'all on, right? Bigger job opportunity come available for me, and I did everything I told you I was going to come here to do, the rest going to be on y'all. He wasn't going there looking to retire, be there for 10, 20 years. He was going there to start something great, pass it on to somebody, move on to a bigger platform to put more of us on, because that is the downfall right now. We don't have us in position to put other of us in that position as well.
And you talked about something, you said something real key right there, passing it along to the next person. So let me ask you this question. How can HBCUs remain as relevant as they've been while Deion was at Jackson State, knowing that he's no longer there? What could be done to keep that sense of being relevant?
I feel like they have two great heads. And I don't know much about HBCUs, but I know there's Eddie George. I know there's Hugh Jackson, guys who have great NFL experience. I'm sure that they're going to not necessarily take the blueprint, but they still have guys there that was in the cycle, while Deion was there. So he saw the culture that he was able to build. So now they may be able to take pages out of his book, or seeing, this is how he was able to recruit guys, maybe stepping up their social media. I think that was huge for Deion in the HBCUs, being different from, the other ones, by having social media, having, guys being filmed in the locker room, giving the fans a more inside perspective. He just gave those guys the blueprint on how to take it to the next level. Now it's on them to study that blueprint, because this blueprint was very successful. And now you got two guys who coached in the league, Eddie George, who played in the league, a great, NFL great. Now he can continue to elevate it. And now when I say pass it on, now other former ball players who gonna want to coach after they're done. Now the door is wide open now. So now you get more of those guys in there to continue to bring change, continue to bring awareness, and continue to blow it up. That's what I mean by passing it on. That's what I mean by Deion started something that he said he was going to start. Now it's up to these other guys who's now going to come behind him to follow that blueprint and make it to their own.
And I think it's up to the powers that be that have a lot of say-so in regards to HBCUs, reaching out to people in regards to media outlets, trying to find a way to get your product on a bigger stage for us to see.
That's what Prime did. He built relationships.
Like the Orange Blossom Classic with Jackson State and FAMU, right? The first Labor Day Sunday in September. That's a national game, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen some other classics that are seen on a national stage. Reaching out to these media outlets to be able to show your product on a bigger stage. You know what I mean? Maybe it should be a priority for, game day to go to one HBCU game once a year where they're there. Like that's a written rule. You know what I mean? Make that a priority to be able to assist what they're doing at HBCUs to bring more light, bring more attention to the entire program there, the entire establishment. So maybe what Deion built in regards to the foundation that he laid, now hopefully they have people in place that can build on that foundation, have a stable structure in place that can be there for years to come, because he in his 3 years there, he's done more than any other coach as of late,
right,
that has been able to do. And because of who he is, his image, his persona, his ability to be the ultimate car salesman, speak extremely well in what he wants to have happen, and he has the backing and the resources. That's what a lot of coaches in the HBCU don't have. So for the ones that don't have that persona like Deion, what can they do? They're going to need help in getting things done. And that's why I think the powers that be got to step in.
Right. And what I think what needs to happen as well is trying to find a way, because we know obviously the HBCUs, they have like booster clubs. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, because Ryan was telling me this, I think they have booster clubs, but obviously they don't carry the same weight, as a, LSU or Florida State or, another Alabama, those, the list goes on. But find a way for, I don't know how we can do this, but the NFL, because they donate to so many communities and, so many different causes, find a way to build like a HBCU pot or HBCU bowl and be able to distribute, money.
Heck, you use some of that fine money, that fine pot.
Yeah, that too. Use some of the fine money.
We think about all the times players have been fined. We don't know what they do with the money.
Right, because think about it. Going to another sport, golf. I love golf.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a ton of HBCUs out there that have great golf players, but they don't have the same facilities that some of these Power 5 colleges may have. They don't have the same visibility that some of these Power 5 colleges may have. So find a way to bring awareness on just HBCU sports in general. I think is still the fight. Just not only in football, just to HBCU in general. So I appreciate what Deion has started. Now it's just going to be up to us, to continue to keep the name alive, to continue to keep the culture alive, and continue to try to build it. Continue to build it, as big as it can be.
No doubt. Let's see exactly what happens in regards to HBCU moving forward. And let's see what happens with the success of Deion being at the University of Colorado. He's already doing some major things in recruiting. Of course, that's no surprise. Let's see exactly what happens when he finishes this recruiting class and, of course, get ready for football season next year in 2023. Well, Pat P,